The princess no one chose asterisk the grand courtyard of Velar Prime was filled with music, lights, and proud alien voices. It was the day of the royal choosing. Dozens of noble males from across the galaxy had come to look at the princess, to see if she was worthy to stand beside them as mate and queen. But Princess Lyanna stood alone. She was small, much smaller than any other Velari female. Her silver skin was smooth, her eyes large and glowing softly, but her body was delicate, almost childlike. Whispers filled the air around her. She's too weak. Her bloodline will not survive. No son will be born from her. One by one, the suitors walked by. Tall lizard men from Dravok, armored warriors from Sion, even the winged nobles of Trellis. They looked at her, then walked away. Some didn't even speak. Lyanna said nothing. She had prepared for this day her whole life. She had studied history, trained in dance and law. She knew the customs. She knew the rejection. But she had hoped just a little that someone would look past her size. A bell rang. The last suitor turned away. The ceremony was over. The queen stood at the edge of the platform, her voice cold. No match today. The princess remains unclaimed. The crowd began to leave. Lyanna stood still. Her hands were shaking, but she did not cry. Not yet. Then, a voice spoke from behind the line of departing nobles. Wait. A man stepped forward. He was not tall, not glowing, not rich with jewels or armor, but his eyes were clear, his clothes simple, his voice steady. He was human. His name was Daniel. The guards looked confused. One of the Velari nobles laughed. Humans are observers, not participants. Daniel didn't flinch. He walked up the steps, past the guards, and stopped in front of Lyanna. She looked up at him. He was taller than her, but everyone was. She saw no fear in his eyes, no judgment, only calm. He bowed. Not deep, not dramatic, just enough to show respect. What is your name? He asked softly. Lyanna blinked. No one had asked her that today. I am Princess Lyanna of House Veyari. Daniel smiled. Thank you. I am Daniel from Earth. She tilted her head. You came to see me. No, he said. I came to understand why no one else did. Her lips parted in surprise. Daniel looked back at the crowd. You all speak of strength, but you forget real strength is not in muscles or size. It's in heart, in loyalty, in the courage to be kind when others are cruel. The queen raised a brow. Are you saying you would accept her? Daniel nodded. Yes, I see her, and I choose her. Gasps echoed through the courtyard. Lyanna's hands trembled again, but not from fear, from shock, from hope. For the first time, someone saw her not as small but as whole. Why? She whispered. Daniel looked into her eyes. Because no one should stand alone forever. And that day, the princess who no one chose was finally seen. Asterisk, a choice that shook the stars. Asterisk, the royal hall of Velar Prime was filled with noise. Nobles from 100 systems shouted over each other. The queen sat on her throne, face frozen and proud, but her fingers gripped the armrest tightly. In the center of the hall stood Princess Lyanna, small, silent, and unshaken. Beside her stood Daniel, the human who had bowed to her when no one else did. You cannot allow this. A thick-voiced warrior from Corin growled. A human cannot take the hand of royal blood. He has no noble house, spat a councilwoman. No empire behind his name. He is weak, another said. He will taint the line. Lyanna finally spoke, her voice soft but clear. You all walked past me. Not one of you even asked who I was. He did. The nobles stared at her, some in shock, some in anger. But she didn't back down. Daniel stood tall beside her. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He simply said, you call me weak, but I came here alone, knowing I'd be mocked. I chose her when none of you had the courage to see her. There was silence. Then the queen stood, She walked down the steps, her long robe flowing like liquid metal. "Liana," she said, voice steady, "you are my daughter, and you were born too small to lead. That's the truth." Liana raised her chin. "No, mother. I was born too small to be loved by cowards." The hall went silent again. The queen's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. Outside, in the garden temple, Liana and Daniel walked hand in hand. The sunlight shone through the blue crystal trees. It should have been a quiet moment, but it wasn't. A sharp sound echoed. A shot. Daniel pushed Liana down just in time. A bolt of energy flew past, burning the stone beside them. Guards shouted. A cloaked figure fled into the shadows. Daniel chased without thinking. The attacker leapt over steps, fired again, and missed. Daniel rolled, grabbed a pipe from the wall, and threw it. It struck the attacker's leg. The cloaked figure fell. Guards arrived and grabbed him. Under the cloak, the face of a noble from the house of Tyron was revealed. "He tried to kill her," Daniel said, panting, "because she chose me." The news spread fast. The council called an emergency meeting, and for the first time, many voices changed. If a human can risk his life for our princess, perhaps he is not weak. One noble said, "He faced danger without armor or title," said another, "and he did it for love." Later that night, Liana sat beside Daniel in her private chamber. "You almost died," she whispered. "I didn't care," he said. "You matter more." She looked at him, eyes filled with something warm. "No one ever fought for me before," she said. He took her hand gently. "Then let me be the first." She smiled. The next morning, Liana walked into the throne room alone. The nobles rose, waiting. "I am no longer the princess no one chose," she said. I choose. I choose Daniel of Earth. He is not of your bloodlines. He is not of your battles. But he saw me, not my size, not my flaws. Me, the nobles murmured. Then, one by one, they began to bow. Even the queen, after a long silence, nodded. "Then your choice," she said, "will shake the stars." Asterisk, asterisk. The man she chose, asterisk, the twin moons of Velar Prime hung above the palace, casting soft silver light across the royal city. The air was full of song and scent flowers blooming, banners waving, people gathering. It was Coronation Day. But this was no ordinary crowning. This was the day a princess once rejected by every noble would rise. And beside her, a human would take her hand. Princess Liana stood before the mirror in her chamber. Her long gown shimmered like stardust, the fabric light and flowing. Her silver skin glowed gently. Her hair was braided with small shining crystals. But her heart beat faster than ever. There was a knock. Daniel stepped in, wearing a dark, elegant uniform gifted by the royal tailors. It had no armor, no weapons, just lines of silver thread across the chest, forming Earth's symbol. "You look like a queen," he said, voice soft. Liana smiled. "And you look like the reason I finally believe I can be one." He walked toward her. "Are you ready?" She nodded, though her hands were shaking. "I was born for this. But I never thought I'd walk that path with someone who chose me before the crown did." Daniel took her hand. "Then let's go together." The royal bridge stretched from the palace to the great platform, where thousands had gathered. Aliens of every kind, some who once turned their backs. Others who now came to witness change stood waiting. Ships hovered quietly above, broadcasting the event across systems. As Liana and Daniel stepped onto the bridge, the crowd fell silent. Every step they took echoed in the air. On the great platform, the queen stood beside the crown. She looked at her daughter, no longer a girl lost in the shadows, but a leader who had found her voice. Liana stepped forward and turned to the crowd. "When I was born, many thought I would not live. When I grew, many said I was too small to lead. When I came of age, no one stood beside me. I was seen as weak, as unwanted." She paused. Her voice grew stronger. But this man, she said, turning to Daniel, saw something else. He saw not weakness, but strength. Not a small body, but a big heart. Not a forgotten princess, but a woman with value. The people listened, in stillness. And so I make my first royal command, not to honor tradition, but to rewrite it. I choose him. I choose Daniel of Earth as my bondmate, my royal consort. And the one who stood with me when no one else would? The crowd didn't cheer at first. Then one voice shouted, "Long live the queen." Another followed, "Long live the bond." And then an eruption of cheers filled the sky. That evening, after the ceremony, Liana and Daniel stood on the palace balcony. The city below was glowing with light. Fireworks burst like stars. Ships flew information. Musicians played from the towers. Joy had filled a world that once whispered rejection. Liana leaned on the railing, watching her people celebrate. "Do you think they'll really accept us?" she asked quietly. Daniel wrapped his arm around her. "They already have. You showed them what strength looks like." "And you?" she asked. "I just showed them what love can do," he said. Months passed. Other kingdoms across the stars sent envoys to meet Earth's people. Many were curious, some skeptical. But one thing had changed. Now, when alien princesses or queens looked toward Earth, they whispered, "I want someone like him." In schools, young Velari girls stood tall, no longer ashamed of being small. In royal meetings, Liana spoke with pride and clarity. And beside her, Daniel never took the spotlight, but he never left her side. One day, as they walked through the gardens, Liana asked, "Why did you really come forward that day?" Daniel smiled. "Because I saw someone standing alone, and I knew how that felt." She stopped walking. "You're not alone anymore." He took her hand. "Neither are you." In the heart of the capital, a statue was raised. It showed a small, proud queen standing tall beside a human man. No crowns, no swords, just two figures holding hands. On its base, carved in gold, were the words, "She was the princess no one chose." Until one man saw her not for what she lacked, but for all that she was.